What is good with YouTube? It is your boy Sean Rock to the, aka Lil Nicky, represent Mandatory Thrive HGBM because every day it is mandatory for us to thrive, and I'm back again with another video. So I got a quote that I want to read before I kind of discuss what I would like to talk to today about on my channel. The quote is: "Don't talk, act. Don't say, show. Don't promise, prove." It's a powerful quote. Um, I've been on a self-improvement journey really my whole life, but for the past 2 years, it's been very significant. Uh, the transitions that I've made, and I want to kind of share my journey, just to be transparent, but also to encourage, men to continue to push themselves, to elevate themselves, and to believe in themselves that they can do and accomplish, what they set their mind out to, as well as understand that there's going to be bumps in the road and you learn from each step of the journey. So when I really started my self-improvement journey, um, I basically became a divorced man and moved back in with my parents, right? So I went from basically married to living back at home with my parents, no job, um, no money, uh, just a couple gifts and talents that I've always had, which was my ability to rhyme, my ability to be a bar athlete, and my ability to write. These were the three significant things that I had. And at that particular time, I felt initially that money was not even really a priority for me. What was a priority for me was for me to look internally, to look inside myself, and to try to figure out um, who I was, who I wanted to be, uh, what were some challenges I was facing, as well as what I wanted to do next. And I spent pretty much the first 5 months doing just that. I trained, I read, I journaled, I processed, I grieved, I went to counseling. Um, it was just really internal work first. And I feel like a lot of times um, we we miss out on the internal work because we're so focused on external things like money, like success, like clothes and different things like that. But I know that all that stuff will come to me when it was time. I knew that at that particular time, the main thing I needed to focus on was learning about myself, trying to love myself, trying to get to know myself, and that's exactly what I did. And so I went from there to basically living in my car for a little bit. I went to Atlanta, I went to New York, and then I moved around. And I took it upon myself to make a lot of radical risk-taking decisions. So when I moved to Atlanta, my hope was to like live there permanently, but it was during the pandemic. So when I got there, all of the things that I planned on doing, which was like utilizing, um, the rest stops in a library, all of it was like way far apart than what I expected. So it just wasn't practical in my circumstances. So I ended up having to come back home. Now, coming back home, this was my way of thinking. Um, I was in conflict with living with my parents. I just didn't want to get too comfortable with that. So I made another radical decision. And I basically made myself semi-homeless. Um, and my parents is basically like not understanding what I'm doing. But I did this because I felt like being a man, I needed to step out on faith and get out of my parents' house, because if I would have got too comfortable, who knows how long I would have been there. So I made a purchase of an RV, um, moved to Holland, which is like 30 minutes away from Grand Rapids, and started doing RV living. And when I started doing RV living, You know, it was in the summer, so it seemed way more lit during the summertime. It was a radical decision. I was paying like $720 a month to stay there, no water, no bathroom, just living in an RV. And I did that for like almost a year. Worked at Planet Fitness, so I showered at Planet Fitness. Pretty much, Planet Fitness was like my lifeline. I showered there, you know, worked out there, and I worked there, and that was pretty much it. And I stayed in the trailer. Hard lifestyle, canned good joints, but it was mine. It was my own situation, and a lot of times, you know, we think about like, will I rather stay with my parents and have a pocket full, or would I rather be busted, dusted, and disgusted and be on my own? And my during my journey, I see why people sometimes choose not to do that, because there was weeks where I ain't had no gas, um, where I literally had $2, you know what I'm saying, $2 to $3 to make it enough, just enough to get to that next check, right? Um, those trying times was difficult, but that season made me a stronger man. It made me a much wiser man, and I'm grateful that I went through that, because it made me much stronger. And now I'm in the next season where now I have my own apartment, right? And I'm starting to save up, starting to build my business, and really building myself up for ground up. So, and it hasn't even really been a whole 2 years, but it's been close to 2 years. And I basically went from living with my parents, to homeless, to basically living in an RV, to um, living on my own. It's significant to just see that transition, right? To see just right. I'm back. Work call. Okay, so um, I went from to now having my own apartment, to now having a higher paying job, uh, while building my business. And I learned a lot of valuable lessons from this. Number one lesson I learned is that um, in order to get to the next level, you got to cut the luxuries out, even the small luxuries, like every 3 days having Chinese food or pizza. Got to cut that out. Um, I learned that all the access driving and going to access places has to be cut out. You know, I did a lot of driving throughout this whole period of time, and I wasted a significant amount of money driving around, going to different places, going to different parks all the time. Um, where now I understand, like, when you're trying to save money, you're trying to build yourself up, and you're trying to build foundation, you need to find things within your proximity to get everything done. So now it's like a library is right by me. A gym is right by me. Laundromat is right by me. Everything is right by me. And maybe once a week, I might go across town and go to a different park or go to a different gym. Or maybe once a week, I might have a meal outside of, my basic saving. Um, and I do this because I want to get to the next level, right? I don't want to be living check to check. I don't even want to be working for somebody other than myself in the long term. Also, I learned that patience is a virtue. And when you rush and you're moving too fast, right, you really tend to hinder your process, your growth process. You tend to make it, you take something that could have took 6 months, um, you make it take a year and a half, right? Because you want it now, you want it fast, uh, and you want the instant gratification. And what I'm learning on this self-improvement journey is that instant gratification is an illusion, and you're gonna end up losing if you stick with that movement. So please don't do it. It'll leave you looking stupid. And that's really what I've learned. You gotta pace yourself. You gotta take your time. You gotta find joy in the little things. You gotta be accurate, pinpoint. At first I was like, I don't, I'm good with money. I don't want to budget. I don't want to save. I mean, I always save, but I don't want to. I don't want to write out a budget. But when I think about how far along I've came in my training journey, when I first started doing calisthenics, my whole routines was written out. It was important for me to have every detail on my routine on down to the reps, the sets, the days. Everything was written out to a T. My logs was written out. So why, when it came to a budgeting, um, would I want do otherwise? So as a man, stepping into masculinity, growing, um, to being able to provide for yourself, to being able to sustain yourself, strengthen your stability. It isn't an overnight thing. It takes a while. It doesn't really take that long as you think. When I think of these 2 years, I think I could have done more, but I'm greatly satisfied with how far along I came. And I want to encourage people who's on the same self-improvement journey. You got to train your body. You got to be reading books, right? You got to know who, you rocking with in your faith, right? You got to learn yourself. Um, you got to save money. You got to invest. You can't just work. You got to start a business too. Like, you got to have multiple streams of income. And these are all things that I'm slowly, transitioning and getting better, to in dating. A lot of times is one of those things that just seems like it should not be a priority until you feel completely comfortable. And I learned that mistake too. When I think of pretty much the first year, I was pretty much like, I'm not dating, I'm not dealing with nobody, I'm not being sexually active, I'm not doing any of that. And I felt like that first year was a lot more uh, powerful for me, right? And now I'm kind of transitioning back into that trajectory, even with some bells and whistles, even having a place to bring a woman and blah, 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 and having a little, money saved and stuff like that. I still feel like it's a priority for me to get to where I want to be and be comfortable. You get what I'm saying? And focus on that, and all the other stuff which has come. So I just want to kind of just give like an update on where I'm at, what I'm doing, and just encourage brothers, man. Just keep pushing, keep grinding, keep dreaming, keep believing, keep prospering, man. Keep believing in yourself. Even if nobody believe in you, you believe in yourself. Because at the end of the day, that's all that really matters, man. Yesterday I had so much attention on me, what I'm saying, from people. And, that could have been a distraction right there. But I'm like, nah, I got to stay locked in. I got to stay dialed in, because at at the end of the day, no matter where these people may see me at now, this is nowhere near where I know that I'm meant to be. So I have to continue on my trajectory and continue locked in, continue, learning what I need to learn to become the man that I need to become. So hope this video helps, man. Remember, dream big, work hard, live great. Don't stop. It's your boy, Sean Right.